30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. Game on.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Paintball Lounge, when we talk about anything and everything about paintball. And just like we have on title, it's going to be behind the marker within the pits, who know as Christian. We're just waiting for him to come on. Hopefully, he jumps on, and it's going to be a great show. And as you can see, I'm showcasing the belt. So hopefully, he comes on. So, like, just in case. There we go. What's up, Christian?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, so welcome to the Paintball Lounge. We were just talking about you.
Awesome.
All right, so
really good things.
Oh yeah, it's just good things. So let's get started with how long you've been playing the sport of paintball.
So this year is my 10th year playing tournament paintball.
Mm-hmm.
I started playing just rec ball when I was I think 15 is when I went paintballing for the first time. And in college as a freshman, I started playing NCPA, which was the college league for the Texas Longhorns. Got absolutely hooked and have been playing since I think it was February of 2015 was the first time I started playing tournament paintball.
Oh, okay. So you just went from you started what everybody else did, like start from a birthday party, then went to play paintball, like got more into it, or was it just playing, a tournament and then you just got hooked on it?
I mean, I kind of gradually got into it. So I started when I was in high school, I went usually around once or twice a year, usually with so I was in marching band in high school, usually with other friends from there just during the summer. But then when I got to college, I saw that the college team was like accepting new members, and from there joined the club and then got on the team.
Okay. And how was it playing for college paintball? Because I know that a lot of people don't think that college, like major university, has a paintball team, which they do. It's just not as football and baseball. But in your point of view, how was it? Like, was it the best thing or was it challenging?
I will say that nowadays it's very, very different than what it was. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, COVID killed a lot of teams out there because during the pandemic shutdown, each university had their own rules as far as if clubs were able to meet or not. So for a lot of clubs, they were shut down for the better part of 3 years until vaccines started becoming readily available. So I will say that back then, the NCPA was massive. There was close, I want to say there was like, yeah, at nationals, there were somewhere between like 60 to 80 teams on average at the national championships,
Oh,
which
wow.
you would see service academies, you would see like the bigger colleges like the University of Texas, Ohio State, USC, um, Central Florida, a lot of really big named like universities out there. And some of the college players went on to play professionally as a team. I believe that the old Columbus level squad actually started out together playing, I think it was University of Akron. I could be wrong on the specific college, but I know all of those guys, or at least the core members, were together and they started out at NCPA and then from there started playing the upper divisionals and then went pro.
Wow, that's incredible because when we talk about tournament paintball, like people don't see that they start from college, like they just think they start from like as usual low divisional rank then up to pro. But hearing that's pretty impressive. That's
Mhm.
really shocking. That's news to
And
me. I did not know that level was like that.
yeah, and the college rules were a little bit different. So instead of
Hmm.
it being by division, the
Hmm.
only restriction was that you were a full-time student in order to be able to play in the college tournament. So you could have players that have never played paintball before going up against current pro players. And that did
Wow.
happen, especially in Texas. When I was in NCPA, Texas A&M had, I think, 3 or 4 players from VCK. So you may know them now as players on Houston Heat or Revo, like Devin Stewart was on that roster, Nico
Oh,
Hyde, um, Cam McCarty from Diesel. Those guys were all on the same team, and that's not the only example of current pro players that were all playing in college together. Like I know Omaha Vicious, like back in like 2013, 2014,
mhm.
most of those players were on University of Nebraska, all playing together in NCPA and also being pros at the same time.
All right. So another thing. So now, since you're now playing tournament more often, are you on a team, and what division are you in? Like,
Uh, so after I graduated college, I did my own thing for a little bit, trying to find this my group of guys that I wanted to play with. In 2021, I helped start the Texas Titans, which we are now in our 4th year as a team. Um, this year we are competing in Division 3, or at least my line is. We have a couple of
mhm,
different lines across divisions.
mhm,
Right now, my line is in first place in the series for the NXL Division 3 X Ball,
okay,
and we are going to be we're going to go attend Cup. Either we're going to be one of the 4 teams that are going to be in the Champions Cup for sure. So we're going for the series title, and yeah.
okay. So is that a little difficult for you when it comes to your podcast, and which we'll talk more about in a minute? But is it kind of difficult being a player and a podcaster at the same time? Like,
I found that they kind of complement each other.
hmm,
Being a player helps me get to know a lot more about the people in the community that I'm a part of.
hmm,
Um, so not just other players and teams, but vendors, community members, families, and because I'm able to like get out to all of these different events as a player, I'm able to meet these people, and it helps the me get to know more about like who do I want to have on my podcast. And then on the flip side, like through the podcast, a lot of people start to recognize who I am, not just in Texas, but even nationally. And so when I'm doing things like, let's see, on Thursday morning, I'm actually going to go fly out and compete in WCPPL. Um,
oh,
uh, Last time when I was at the WC event, there were a couple of people that recognized me at the event in California, which was a little bit surprising to me because my podcast is so focused on the Texas region. But it's a really cool thing as a whole. And I do think that, yeah, there's a little bit extra time commitment
hmm,
with the podcasting. It's more than just the airtime. You also have to prepare your questions, make all of your social media posts, make sure your streams up and running and all that. But I really do think that they help strengthen the other.
okay. Well, that's a good thing because people don't understand that running a podcast, it's easy, but it could take a lot of time consuming and energy just to make sure that everything goes right and you get people to and watch your podcasts. So, but that is just a question that someone always asks me. Like, is it hard? It can be difficult at times, but it's like you said, it's can bring out a lot of good stuff for the podcast.
For sure.
Now, other than so now we got talked about your career as playing a player. Let's talk about in the pits. How the how it all started, like the name and the history. Like,
So in the pits started just over 2 years ago. Started in end of May of 22. And it started just because I was on the drive back. So we were playing up at Paintball Fit, which is about a 3.5 hour drive or so from where I live. And we had gotten knocked out in the quarterfinals. So kind of a silent drive home. But I'm thinking on the way that I don't really know too much about other people within the Texas scene. Even though you think of Texas as being like one of the current meccas of paintball, but Texas is such a large state that just to get between fields, like the smaller pockets of regions, like going from, let's say, San Antonio to Dallas or to Houston or to the Valley, like those are each like 4 hour drives. So at the scene can feel like very disconnected from each other. So my goal for the podcast was to get to know more people around the entire Texas region as a whole. But on top of that, highlight the community members who are really doing cool things out there, not just players. It could be brands, for example. I don't know if you guys know Uno's Jerky. I know that
oh
he
yeah,
sells jerky over at LAX. He's down in the Valley. All of his flavors are named after different Texas teams. Um,
you should make
or
one for Louisiana.
I I want to say that he does have something in the works. I know. Yeah, you'll have to talk to JC about it more. But but yeah, I think guys like JC or I had an entire youth girls team on an episode. So being able to highlight really all different parts of the scene.
Okay. So basically, when I was watching, all your shows, like, and getting a feel of what you do a lot. Me and you are kind of similar in a way because the funny thing is this: you started in May, I started in July at the same year, and it's it's kind of ironic, like two guys, one from Louisiana, one from Texas. We just started a podcast, and it's just history. And the fact that you do like what I do, basically, like interview, um, photographers, let's see, divisional players, divisional teams, maybe sometimes the field owners and coaches. I like that. That's the idea of my podcast as well, because if you want to get a standby coach, like our podcast, listen to podcasts by a standby coach, you watch the coach's show, or if you want to listen to, like, Spick a Span, or was it Play the Game, they're kind of guys, they interview pro players all the dang time, or big media stars. Because I know the Play the Game interview a UFC fighter. I think it was a UFC fighter.
Yeah, I think they've also had like NFL players,
Yeah.
NHL players. They've had a lot of celebrities. They've had like professional like rock musicians.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a lot of value in highlighting the smaller members because they are very, very impactful in our local communities.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Especially, we're trying to show people that, hey, they have big brands, but you know, listen to your local area so you can get to know, this is a field that lives close to me, or this team is close to me. I didn't know. I listened to their podcast. Now I know. Because, when you listen to all those big podcasters, they talk about, like you said, celebrities and everything. That's great and all. But the heart and soul is where they're from. Like, Louisiana, it's very small, not a lot of fields. And in Texas, like you just said, to go play a field is like 4 hour drive. Louisiana just has very small fields, and not a lot of people come to Louisiana.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I will say that as far as our podcast starting at around the same time, I know there's another podcast from the sideline with Ryan Moffat. Um, his are, I think, also started around the same time that yours did. I know
oh
they
wow,
just had their second birthday like last week or 2 weeks ago. So right around the same time. And I think
wow,
that that period in time, that like middle of the season 2022, as so many people were starting to get back into paintball and some of these like COVID restrictions started loosening a little bit, I think
mm,
it really created this vacuum of like lack of knowledge of who's who out there, because there's so many people either returning after a very long time away from the game,
yep,
or they're getting into it for the first time. So not a whole lot of kind of like people that are being connected to one another. So it's like it's interesting that so many paintball podcasts started around the same time, but I think that's could be a clue as to why it happened.
yeah, and I also believe it was like this, like the ones who were like sitting back home, could not do anything, could not play paintball or anything like that. It was you know, I'm not gonna lie, it was very miserable because you had that itch to play, and the only way you could play if you were playing the what was it, Ultimate Shootout, and that was mostly for the pro players in a way. So that was my you know idea, like, hey, I'm going to start a podcast, and I never. I'm not good at talking to people like face to face. I get very anxious and everything. But the way that how 2020 was being, stay at home, doing absolutely nothing, couldn't play paintball, could not even enjoy outdoors. I guess it gave me the spark, like the idea, like, let me get started with a podcast. I'm going to do it. And, you know, and I
Yeah.
got to give a shout out to my girl, um, Daniel Derby. She is my silent partner, but she was the reason why, like, she told me, go for it. You've been playing this sport for so long, go for it. So, but I totally agree with you 100%. 2022 was the year that everybody was like, okay, 2020, you really kicked us in the ass. What is something we can get back to the community to keep on, you know, keep paintball alive? And I,
Right.
and the podcast just went blowing.
Mhm. Yeah, and this you do multiple podcasts, right? This paintball isn't the only podcast that you do.
The second one is actually known as Norse Nola. And that's actually a good, kind of question about Norse Nola. Is Norse Nola is basically, my second podcast. I talk about anything and everything within reasons. There's some things I don't talk about.
Mhm.
Like, not trying to get in any trouble.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, that's doing two podcasts is fun. I started loving it. But the Paintball Lounge will always be my baby. Will
Mhm.
always be my podcast, my number one podcast.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've enjoyed a little bit more as my podcast is like now we're in year 3. Like after you get to a certain point, it almost runs itself. Like once you have all of your templates down, all of your
Mhm.
like your general like script guideline, all of your graphics, then it's not too difficult. Like the biggest thing that's really tough is just the consistency of it all. Keep on doing it every week. Don't miss an episode. Uh
Mhm.
and like kudos to you for making it this far, because it is a very difficult thing to stay consistent that people like don't really, I guess, think of in terms of like either burnout or even just remaining interested in the thing.
Mhm.
And on top of the other like difficulties that you may have to deal with, like guests canceling on you last minute, I'm sure that you've had a few of during
Oh
your
yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
um oh surprise, my power went out, like um had it's tough to still keep going through years of that. So good job for making it this far.
Yeah, I mean, we we had some, definitely some players did cancel on us. I still haven't had a pro player come on the show, and it does suck at times. I mean, we had Coach Bianca on here, and that was an awesome episode. But I love doing divisional players because no one understands like the backside of it, like I said, the home side of it. And shout out to the boy. I think you heard about Grayson Manny, and what happened to him. He was on this show, and stories like his story, as well as Team 13, the way they do things, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing because when you play pro, everybody knows your story. Everybody knows how you play and everything. Right. But these divisionals, the way they play and the stories, how they started, it's just mind blowing.
Definitely. There's some really cool stories out there, and it's awesome to get to highlight some of them.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And hopefully I get more people from divisionals areas, not even just, Louisiana, hopefully more Louisiana, but Texas, Mississippi. We're trying to get everywhere so people can, understand that, hey, pro players is not always the way to go. You can always be a divisional, and you can always be a great player, even if you're playing divisional.
Mm-hmm. I think it's not just that, but also like I think there's been a little bit of a public conception that pro players, like if you're not a pro player, then you're not important in the scene or in the community. And a big thing for what we do is just highlighting that it's so much more than just playing at the professional level. Like just because you weren't one of the best 200 players in the world doesn't mean that you're not contributing to the scene in a significant way.
Exactly. Because, this actually kind of leans on to the next topic about, paintball being on ESPN, because back in 2000, I think it was 2005 or 2008, around the early 2000s when we were on ESPN, hey, we're on ESPN, we made it and everything. And then we were starting to go down and down back to the underground sport. No one knew what the sports was. No one knew anything. We were just like in the shadows. And now we're the paintball community, like the tournaments we play both in the South and up North, everywhere is starting to become massive. There's more tournaments than ever can be. So you have more of a choice to play as. You don't have to play tournament. NXL, you can always play, like you said, the WCCPL or ICPL or what your local tournaments out on the PB leagues. It's it's just a crazy ride. But the fact that we also went on ESPN this past Saturday, what is your thoughts of how it went down?
So I actually was very fortunate for my 100th episode. I was able to get Tom Cole on my show. He actually shared the story of how exactly it came to be. And it was basically just, hey, he got an email blast from, I think, I don't know if it was cornhole or dart throwing, but he got a blast that it was like, hey, ESPN's going to come record this. First 100 people that get to be a part of like the studio audience on camera, something like that. And he ended up driving like 10 hours to get to the recording place. He was the first person in line. And then when they opened, he handed his business card to one of the ESPN producers that were there setting up. And from there, it was just like, hey, it just started moving quickly from there. So that as far as like how it came to be, it was just Tom Cole, like, being relentless in his pursuit to make this happen. I know that he's been trying to expand paintball on all fronts that he can do. And so I have a huge amount of respect for all of Tom Cole's efforts, even though he gets flamed a lot online, like, oh, why didn't we do this? Or why isn't the overlay a little bit higher on the ESPN thing so it doesn't block out the Doritos? Or, oh, they cut out half the match.
Right.
Like there's so much nitpicking that especially paintballers, they seem to be if you're familiar with the phrase, don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Oh, I know.
And there seems to be a lot of that going around where they see like one little thing that maybe they don't agree with, or they're
Hmm.
not, or maybe they're not even like thinking about it from the terms of the general public, right? Because a
Right.
paintball player who's familiar with the tournament, um, like how the game works, they're not going to view it from the same lens as a someone who really is just there to watch like Monday Night Football and they're just flipping through channels and they happen to catch us, right?
Right.
So as far as like the ESPN production itself, how the show went, I thought it was a great proof of concept.
Hmm.
I know that they had to make cuts and simplify things very quickly. Like they had to
Oh
cut
yeah.
out several points in the match so that they could fit within the 22 minutes. Um, and then they also had the other announcer alongside Maddie Marshall, which I saw a lot of hate for online saying,
Oh
"Oh, why
my.
can't we get another guy who knows paintball?" But like that's part of the point is you have to have a guy who doesn't maybe isn't too familiar with it like we are to ask those questions from the perspective of like what does Joe Schmo, what questions are they going to have in their mind as they're watching?
Look,
And having that other perspective of someone who's there to frame those questions so that Maddie can answer them is huge. And I thought that he needed to get way more credit than what a lot of people online were giving him.
see, the thing is that so when it came on, I was I had to work the next morning of that Sunday. I had to get up really early, to go work, do my day job and everything. But I stayed up, you know, here I am watching it and watching, like, come on, and I see it. And the way they produce, like they show it, I was actually stunned. It was awesome because that is what we needed. Because if we watch the Go Sports and you're just getting started to, playing paintball and want to understand tournament paintball, and you watch on Go Sports, not a lot of people can understand how is it going, like how does it, like the concept of it, because they're like, oh, how many peoples are there? Like I don't understand. And seeing on ESPN, seeing like the guys' names from Aftershock and Russian Legions, and you know showing it a little bit more simplified and a little bit more cleaner in every which way. I enjoyed it very much. And I understand about the cuts and everything because we were on, the show,
Mhm.
and they have a time schedule, and we were just, we were 15 minutes. So, you know, you gotta fit everybody's schedule with it. And it was awesome. Now, the only problem I had with it was the GoPro. I didn't think the GoPro on the mask was really needed in my book, because it was good to have it, but was it really needed on ESPN? Not so much. Not so much.
I mean, I have an opinion on that. And real quick, I do see
Go
that
ahead.
Ryan Gray, Coach Gray from the Coaches Show. What's
Oh,
up,
what's up,
Ryan? Good
Ray?
to see you. Um, I think that as far as the sacrifices that they did have to make, um,
Mhm.
obviously the goal there isn't so much like, hey, this is our one shot, we have to make it as best as we can be. It's like showing that, hey, this is what's possible, and with the understanding that yeah, it could be better, but at the same time I think it looked a hell of a lot better than the tire wrestling that was on right before.
Oh, sorry.
um
Oh my god. What?
yeah,
Oh my god. I was like, what the fuck is this piece of shit?
it
Yes,
was
I
pretty
cursed.
bad. It was although at the same time I was yelling at my TV like, get him in the tire. So I never thought that I would ever do that. So I guess credit to tire wrestling because they got that emotional reaction out of me. But I will say that as far as like the camera angles and stuff, it was
That's awesome.
the head cams. Obviously a lot of it was if a player was like shooting their marker, then a lot of it was blocked out by the hopper. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it was pretty cool to like get a perspective of what the players are
Right.
experiencing, like seeing Karsalev like tucked basically underneath the Dorito,
Right.
trying to get out of a stream, or seeing A-Rod hopping the center snake beams to go run down the last guy, getting or seeing like J-Rab who's popping the top on the snake looking for Hoskinson to come around the corner, and just like, oh, this is, you're starting to understand a little bit more of what the player's perspective is. And
Right.
while it's not, it might not give you the best footage. Like if you had a barrel cam, maybe you're going to see like the paintball impact a little bit better. But I thought it did a pretty good job of showing what it is the players are going through.
Right. And going back to what you said that they wish that, they should put like someone, like people saying, oh, they should put someone who knows about paintball, and the fact they didn't, I actually like that idea, because the fact that this, if you heard of Pat Mackerson or the Pat Show,
Yeah, Pat McAfee. Yes.
yes, he is working for WWE, but he never did commentary before. He never knew anything about wrestling, and now he's one of the great commentators. And that's what we need. We need someone who doesn't know anything about paintball as much as we do, because it generates more people to get into the sport, because this guy doesn't know anything about paintball, but I would like to get into it. It's just generating more and more people to play paintball and to experience that what we love to do every weekend.
Definitely. And in terms of like the broadcasting, whenever you see casting duos or trios, whenever they're casting games like in the NBA or the NFL or other like top sports, or even like esports nowadays have commentators, they usually have a two commentator system where one is designated the color commentator, who is usually a little bit more detailed, will go in depth about the why, or like what exactly happened, and explaining. And the other person is the play-by-play, who is usually like a little bit of like the radio voice, like saying things as they're happening, um, but also framing, like basically teeing up the question so that the color commentator can answer them and go into more depth and create kind of that back and forth. So I think having that other caster was more of the traditional like two-person commentator system that we're used to in other major sports.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's why I was enjoying this like so much. Like I have like really high hopes now that, they come back, but they do this in World Cup. That's going to be like, oh Lord, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we'll
And
see.
yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. And in fact, my girlfriend even said this, that, hey, maybe the next level is being Olympic. I'm like, well, we already have a Team USA. We already have a Team USA in Latin, and we got Europe. Like, we just got to go the other places. So maybe that is the next big step. We don't know.
Yeah. I think the other thing that people are forgetting is like how quick of a turnaround time that the production had in order to get this turned into ESPN. Like I know that Tom Cole and other podcasts had said that originally ESPN had wanted their finished product like 2 weeks before NXL Atlantic City had even happened.
Oh,
So
wow.
from them filming the event live, doing the insane amount of post production that they had with not just the camera angles, but the overlays, making sure that the voiceovers were completely re recorded. And to get all of that turned in as short of a time as they had it to actually get it to ESPN, I think was very impressive, and something that a lot of people might not have even been thinking about.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And especially this is what I saw when we were doing the breaks, because I know that they had to cut some of the match out and they were doing the commercial break. Those commercials about play paintball, that I was like, what? We have now a commercial? And I actually went on Major League's website and seeing that play paintball, and like, where the, hey, this is the field location and everything. that is genius in my book. That is like complete genius and helps so much because when you type in paintball on the Google search and say like Alabama, there's like all these places in Alabama, but where's the now I can go to Major League and see, okay, I'm going to this part of Alabama. There's this, and this instead of one that's all the way from the other side, which and seeing that commercial about the little kid not with his dad going to play the sport, that is what this is all about. The sports about is memories and making bonds and create a family. That's why we have our slogan known as it's not just a sport, it's family, because that is the goal.
And also shout out to X Factor Paintball because that commercial was filmed at X Factor.
Oh, really? That I did not know. Oh, wow. Shout out to you guys. Shoot. That's awesome. That's just really awesome. So now, another thing is this. You have this thing called the joust.
Yes. So for anybody who is familiar with the Hormesis Joust and Duel, their Hormesis Elite Tour that's going around this year and last year, it's a new 1v1 format. I know Oliver, who I've been getting advice from throughout this whole process, and really grateful for him. But his vision was that he wanted to highlight all of these individual players, but also like 1v1s are a very, very fast way to get really efficient reps on the field. Like if you have a bag of 500 paintballs, if you're just playing 5-on-5s, that's like not even enough to play a full point sometimes. If you're buying a full case of paintballs and all you're doing is playing 5-on-5 full points, you're playing like, depending on your position that you play, like if you're a front snake guy, then maybe you can get like 10 or 15 points on that. But if you're a back guy, you're maybe getting, anywhere between probably like 4 and 7 full 5-on-5 points before you're out of paint for the day.
Right.
Whereas if you're playing one-on-ones, 500 paintballs can get you through a lot very, very quickly. So you're just the efficiency of the reps is huge, and so that's what Oliver's like vision was to improve all of these like the individual skills out of all of these players. And something that I wanted to do after I myself played the Joust and the Duel last year when they came to Paintball Fit was I wanted more people to get to and experience the format. So I held the Joust event last December. It went over really well, and I'm holding another one next weekend at X Factor on Saturday, August 17th. And not just like the 1v1 format in itself, but also like adding a couple of new twists to the rules that make it a little bit more exciting.
Right. And I believe it or not, I wish I recorded the beta. We are actually trying to, promote our summer raw. We haven't got anybody yet, but that's okay because it's hard in Louisiana. Like I said, it's hard in Louisiana because everybody's so focusing on the other big tournaments and they want to focus on that, which I understand. Not being, Debbie Downer or anything like that. It happens. But when we run the beta tournament, man, I learned a lot that I did not know. And to see you now doing this joust, that's awesome, man. I could my hat to you, man.
Appreciate it.
I wish I could do it last year, but I didn't. And that's why I have this. That's what it was for this big.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. If you want me to let you know who made it, it's Trophy Smacks. Trophy Smacks made the belt like $200 just to make the belt and everything. And now I'm just hopefully we get a lot of people to play the summer ball, but if not, well, I'll just keep on wearing it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a good one to have. So I do want to like kind of let you guys know a little bit. So I was typing up like the updated rule set for this one last night. And one of the cool things that I made like as part of the twist in my version of the joust. So in the Hormesis joust, the generals get access to 2 trump cards where they can force the opponent player off of the field. And usually you do that if like say someone's going on like a really big streak. You'll just like
Right.
play the card, get them off the field. Um, I wanted to expand upon that card system and have other ways that the generals could impact the game. So in the last version of the game, last December, we had I think 4 different cards that the generals could play.
Mhm.
One of them was the ace, where the generals could play themselves onto the field, and they keep playing until either they run the table or they lose. I don't think either of the generals that we had last time ended up playing the ace card just because we had so many. It was 21 on 21. So we wanted to make sure that everybody saw time on the field. And then we had jokers where we have like a field manager at X Factor who everybody loves. And he was like the celebrity guest. So if you played the
Mhm.
joker, you got him to play for your team until he lost. And then we had
Oh,
the kings and the queens, which were the trump cards,
mhm,
but for different amounts of time they were locked off of the field. And
mhm.
then jacks, we did like a almost like an Uno reverse type deal where if you play a jack, then you repeat the point that just happened. So let's say your player lost, but you're like, nah, my player can beat this guy. You're going to play a jack, you just send him right back on the field. Or you can use it in the other way, where if you beat the other guy and you want him to come back on the field so you can beat him twice, then you play that jack. And
Huh.
then the last one was I think we used cards for timeouts as well.
Right.
So on these rules, and the other thing about the cards is that they're really cool. Like if you, let's say you trump card a player, then that general gives that card to the opponent player, and it's just like a cool little keepsake that they get to go home with. Um, and with our generals last time, we had Colt Roberts and Alex Martinez were the 2 generals. So it was kind of like a cool thing. Like, oh, I got this card from Colt Roberts that some of the players got to experience. So this time around, we have 5 cards that the generals can play.
Oh, okay.
Um, so the first one is the ace, which we're going to use as our celebrity guest card again. So each team gets 1 ace that they can play at any time throughout the match.
Okay.
Um, next, we have the 10, which is a double trump. So we, instead of doing it by time,
Mhm.
for the trump cards. This time it's actually going to be by rotation because we're also
Okay.
cutting the roster sizes in half so that everybody can get more time on the field. So
Right.
instead of 21 on 21 like it was last time, we're only doing 10v10.
Okay. That's
And
actually smart.
yeah, and part of that was we got some feedback from the last one
Mhm.
where some players only got stepped on the field twice during the 90 minutes and they lost both times. So
Thanks.
we wanted to avoid that. We wanted players to get feel like they got the full experience. So cut the rosters in half to 10v10. We're only doing 60 minutes this time, but that should still allow everybody to see the field probably around 5 times throughout the match.
Mhm.
Depending on what win or loss streaks people go on. So the 9s and 10s on this go around. So the 9s are going to be trump cards. So you force that player that's on the other team to get off the field. Just
Okay.
ends their current turn. The 10s are a double trump. So you end their current turn and they have to skip their next turn in the rotation.
Damn, you got a
So
lot of twists and turns like
yeah,
that,
there it can be a little bit complicated. If
but that makes it fun.
Yeah, and I think it actually makes it so that the generals who are much more experienced, they like get to have a little bit more of their game sense that go into affect the game. Uh,
Yeah.
so the 8s, we have these are going to be the run it back cards, just
Mhm.
like the jacks were last time. So the 8, you just repeat the previous point, same 2 players, and then a new card for this one are the 3s, which each team will get 2 of. And the 3s are, it turns it into a 3-point play. So the next point that's about to happen on the field, whoever wins it, they score 3 points for their team instead of 1.
Wow. I wish. I know that it's gonna be a live stream though
Yeah.
by what's his name again? I'm sorry.
Travis Patton is his name,
Thank you.
and he is a player on Austin Notorious's divisional team. He's
Yeah.
live streamed a few things. Like I know they did a charity event at Outlaw Paintball in Austin. Um,
Yep.
and he live streamed that. He's live streamed some practices at Outlaw, and he just messaged me the other day volunteering to get this on a live stream. So shout out to Travis. I'm really really looking forward to being able to bring this to everyone.
And shout out to Matt Hodge. I think you. I don't know if you know him. He's the Hodge with all the little Hodges. Justin and Hollywood. Shout out to him as well for he's letting me stream of the 1v1 practice this Sunday at LAX for people who's going to play at the Hormesis. And I would tell you this: doing live stream tournaments or practice, it's interesting. It's so interesting. And I don't know if you have you done before by any chance? Have you live streamed a tournament or a practice before?
I have. So not only have I live streamed a tournament,
Mm-hmm.
we had last, I don't know if it was last winter or 2 winters ago. We had the X Factor Paintball Series, which is a local 3-man that's put on by one of my teammates. I ran the live stream for that one, and it's a lot of things can go wrong pretty quickly if you're
Oh yeah,
live
without a
streaming.
doubt. Oh yeah, without a doubt. But the thing is that with me is that like I went with so many cameras. I'm not gonna lie. I went from a GoPro Max now to a 4 cameras, about to be 5, maybe. That's just oh Lord. I mean, I don't know how many cameras I have, but it's a lot of work, and it's a nerve wracking. I'm gonna tell you that it's a nerve wracking experience because you don't know when one of the cameras gonna go out because of the heat. And now we have. I'm gonna announce this right now since you announced your jobs. I'm gonna announce this. We just got 2 new stands, tripod stands. They're 87-inch tall.
Nice.
So now we can actually get if you're starting at the home, like starting the starting box, we can actually get behind the players from that back line. We can actually see a little bit better from that back line. It's 87 inches tall, so it's pretty good height to where that my cameras are not going to get shot.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get shot, but it's not going to be like as bad when they the buzzer goes off and they're shooting off the break.
For sure. Yeah. Being able to have that height is pretty big. So I was also on and off. I've done some work with the USXBL on their cast. There was one event last year where I was one of the commentators for the entire event. And that event was like, it was 105 degrees or 110 degrees outside. Woo! Where the turf measuring 160. So cameras were going down left and right to the heat. So I'm very familiar with that. But being able to provide this stream is awesome to just be able to share to family members, but also just in general, like having footage of yourself so that you can go back and study, like, hey, this is what I did wrong. These are the these are the missed opportunities on the field. Like, oh, this gap was open for 30 seconds before I considered going down the snake. Or, oh, all 4 of our guns are looking Dorito way. Why did we lose? And just being able to see that. And also shout out to Travis Patton. He's actually here in this chat. Going to be
one. And shout out to Mike Bianca. Thanks, man. Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say is that, the Texas area, it has to be brutal. Like I cannot live stream or anything in Texas area because of how, I don't know how y'all can do it. It still shocks me to this day when people go play the Texas event and they're in that heat, the humidity, especially all that turf. Man, like Travis just said, his shoes melted. Like, I don't know if anybody tests that theory. I don't know if someone tests this theory, like laying outside, no shirt, and just getting a tan all on a turf field. Because it sounds like it.
You're not getting a tan. You're getting you're getting like actually grilled. You're gonna have grill marks on your body.
So you go from a rare to a well done.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, see, I cannot do that. I cannot do that. That's why I love being in Louisiana and like doing what I do around here, because we don't have that much of a heat, but you know, so now, how did you felt about knowing that we're going to be doing this literally an hour or 2 hours before the coaches show?
I mean, there's so many paintball podcasts on Tuesdays. Like I do my best to keep up with all of them. Like I watch all of the coaches shows. I usually pop in the chat and uh say what's up, and then like I'll say something and then Ryan Gray will correct me in the chat because I didn't do my full research like he did. So yeah, I love watching the coaches show. I know that Spick and Span is on at the same time as well. Um and then I think From the Sidelines also goes live in the morning. And then earlier on Tuesday mornings at around 10 a.m. Central Time is also After the Buzzer with Robert Jordan on his Facebook page. So there's Tuesday is definitely the paintball podcast day, which is why I do my show Wednesday nights.
Yeah, see, me, I don't have a set schedule. I don't have a set schedule. It's just whenever I feel like it. Because, like you said, everybody has a lot of podcasts and they're on a certain day. I try to keep this free flowing as I could possibly be, because I want to make it unique and I want to make it to where that people can watch it and they don't have to worry about this show being on this time. I gotta watch this show because it might have this person, and flip flopping.
Mm-hmm.
And I call, but no. When I heard that, this is the second time I had behind the marker segment on Tuesday, and I was just like, "Is this going to be known as the madness?" And that's what I said on the story. Like, this is podcast madness. But I think it's actually awesome in my book, because the fact that we could talk about a level where people can start at, and then you could jump on the coach's show and talk about the higher ups as a coach wise.
And to bring it full circle, I think the coaches show episode tonight, they're actually going to be breaking down the ESPN stuff.
Yeah, well, we just we just started. We just gave people a little push. Like, okay, now they're going to get into real detail. We just gave y'all just a little push. Mm-hmm. But so right now we're going to actually do a little thing called lightning questions, and then if you have any questions for me, we'll answer it.
Okay.
So what marker do you rock with?
So I am currently, as my primary, I use a Project G CS3 in the Light Trooper color. So I'm actually an employee at Project. So I work with Archie and Ryan every day. I do a lot of their marker disassembly, assembly. I help with the anodizing process, but I rock Project. I got to represent there.
Oh wow, did not know that. I've been wanting a Project. Damn.
Yeah, they're very very exclusive, but
yeah.
if it's something that you're wanting and you're serious about it, then either hit me up or message Ryan Brand, message the Project page. They'll get you squared away.
I wish I could, but I already have a CS3. So yeah. But all right, so what kind of mask are you using?
I have clears. So I use a JT ProFlex with clear bottoms. I've got the my frames, I think, are like the shadow camo. I've got Project Soft Ears, Project Woven Strap. And I think right now my lens I've got a blue lens on it.
All right. And what is the biggest pet peeve to you in paintball?
Oh man. I've got a few. So at practice, one of my pet peeves is like at the end of practice, you're done for the day, and then you've got a few people that'll go out there and just hop or dump on some random pole or bunker or whatever. For me, I'm like, you're hopper dumping, like just or like shooting all like a full hopper out before you leave for the day. In my mind, I'm like, that's 200 reps of snap shooting that you could do, or that's 50 reps of laning drills that you could do right at the end of practice. But you're just dumping them out. So that's one of mine. Another one is um, whenever players don't change their batteries going into a tournament, and then suddenly their stuff goes down and they're asking for yours. That's definitely a pet peeve.
Oh, that's one that I forgot about that one. I totally forgot about that one. Oh man, that is a definitely bad peeve because that one is always driving me nuts. Oh, I forgot my battery. So that sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, or like, hey, anybody have a hopper I can borrow? I'm like,
That is your problem.
and it's a pet peeve because I'm always the guy that brings backups. So
Yeah, same here. I don't know if you follow Lone Wolf Paintball. They just did a shout out to me.
nice.
That was me. Yeah, the JT Hopper with the Hair 45 trigger version 2, and the infamous trigger. Yeah, that was me. I've always having something like a backup or a backup tank, anything, because you may never know. But I'd always never get it back unless I had to hunt the person down.
Right. Yeah. I have one teammate that has used my backup gun like at every practice and every event for the last year at this point. And I eventually just told him, I was like, hey, you want to just buy it? And I think he's actually going to. So
Hey, I hope so. I mean, that's some expensive stuff. All right. So now, if you have any questions you want to ask me, go ahead.
okay. So this this one is it's one that I usually close my show with.
Okay.
So is there anybody in the paintball community as a whole? So it could be a player, a vendor, a project, a team, a field, like a social media guy, anyone that you think deserves more recognition for what they're doing,
Oh, oh,
big or small.
oh, shit. There's a lot of Oh, that's a tough one. Oh, that's a really doozy one. So I think the more recognition has to go with the I have to say the field owners because
Okay.
it's only because my friend Drew Bankston, I have so much love and respect for him. But after working with him like as an employee and everything, it is tough to it's really tough to own the field and trying to run it and make sure you get your inventory right, make sure the paint goes out, make sure everybody's satisfied. It's We should give people who owns the field the recognition that they deserve because this is their living, this is their life, and if they're going downhill, it hurts, and really sucks and breaks my heart.
Mhm.
It really does.
All right. Solid choice. Shout out to Drew Bankston.
And the LAX. Any more?
Yeah, we'll do one more.
Lay
So
on me. Any kind of question. Lay
okay,
on me.
so first I need to know, like, I don't know about your history as a player.
Okay.
So what like kind of similar question to what you asked me earlier. So like what divisions have you played? Um, who is your current team? And then what would you say is your best, like your favorite individual moment in the sport as a player?
So currently I'm not on a team. I used to be
Okay.
on a team known as Nola Savages, but
Okay, yeah.
there were some personal problems I don't want to get into. And you
Did you guys
know,
play Bunkerfest last year?
that was a Mardi Gras, and I was not part of them.
Okay, but you didn't do the event series in Texas.
No, I've never done like series like ever since the NXL came up and they got rid of the NPPL and the PSP. I haven't played any of that after 2015 around that time.
Okay.
So currently I'm a D5 player, but or D6, but that's because I just I've done the whole traveling before, And, you know, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I got a chance to play different fields, experience different events, and it was fun. But, now it's just like I want to get better, but I'm actually content with where I'm at. So I'm a freelancer. I would like to be on a team soon so I can do travel again and play different tournaments, give the hang of it again, see how it's like ever from back then to now. But so am I, and you said what's my biggest, like,
Your favorite your favorite single moment as a player. So it could be like a big tournament win or maybe like a big play that you made, something like that.
okay, so I'm probably gonna get heat on this, I don't know, but it was actually the LAX. They're having a mechanical tournament. It was a 1v1 style, and Matt Hodge, his son Connor, or we call him Hollywood, you know, he was getting so much better. He was getting great at paintball, and I got a chance to face him. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. Because he's that kid, like he's one of the kids that you want to face him, like how you face him. Like he's just like that bucket list. And got a chance to face him, and it was time based, but I shot him right in the mask. Shot him right in the mask of that day, and I will never forget it. Because he's a small kid and he's wicked fast. And I'm not fast. I'm a big guy. I'm not fast at all. So for me to get a shot on him and that that tournament, that was the best time ever.
Nice.
Like, keep on laying on me with questions. I mean,
I think that's about all the questions that I got. That's all the ones that I can think of right now.
All right. Well, I think we're going ahead and end this episode. It's already been an hour, and I want to get ready for the coaches show because that's gonna be good. And I also got to pick up something for one of my cameras. So, but I wanted to thank everybody who was tuning in on the show, and thank you, Christian, for coming on the show. This was an awesome experience. I love doing episodes like these.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem. And anytime you want me in the pits or anything like that, hit me up.
Got it.
I'll see if I can get fit in your schedule.
Awesome.
All right, I'll see you around, man.
All right, thank you.
No problem. All right, y'all. That was in the pits, Christian in the pits. That was an awesome show. I enjoy having these interviews with the guys, whether you're from Texas, Mississippi, Florida, a team, podcaster, a field owner, etc. I love having these, interviews and seeing the stories in every which way. So I hope y'all love this episode as much as I did. And please subscribe, like, share. Let's keep on growing the sport. Let's keep growing this podcast. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I've been your host, Zachary, and I'll see y'all next time on the Paintball Lounge. Have a good night.